Hi everyone, it's Alex from Risk Academy, and today I wanted to talk about 3 fatal mistakes risk managers make. Now, you have probably read an article which has had thousands and thousands and dozens of thousands of views on 3 fatal mistakes risk consultants usually make. So I've decided to do a follow-up. Risk consultants are not the biggest problem risk managers have. I have a separate video where I say that maybe the success of the risk management implementation, integration depends a lot on the risk manager himself. And in this video I want to talk about 3 things risk managers all over the world get horribly wrong. And this is, I feel personally, is a pretty important video. So, problem number 1, or mistake number 1, is that risk managers all over the world are solving the wrong problem. There are still, even though it's 2017 and there has been a lot of publications, in my publications by Norman Marks, by David Hilson, by Doug Hubert, and hundreds of other good risk management professionals talking about that the purpose of risk management is not really managing risks. And yet the biggest flaw many risk managers still have is that they think risk management is actually about managing risks. So they come to executives and they internally sell the concept of better managing risks. And that is absolute rubbish. No one in the company except the head of risk and maybe head of internal audit and maybe chair of the audit committee, who is detached from real business, and he's just very wishful thinking person. Most other people except those 3 don't care about managing risks. They have other things. They don't get paid for managing risks per se. It obviously has an indirect relationship to their salary and bonus payments, but business has to be, and risk managers has to be super 100% clear and to the point. And the point is, senior executives, line managers, supervisors, but employees are not there to manage risks. So that is the flaw number 1. That is the biggest mistake I personally feel. Risk managers got it wrong big time. They're trying to sell the concept of better managing risks, completely ignoring the fact that no one cares about managing risks. Managing risks is not on people's agenda. Making production targets and achieving their forecasts and making bonus payments and receiving their salary, achieving their strategic goals, achieving their vision even, the company vision, those are the things that the business is concerned about. So mistake number 1, risk managers are confused and thinking that they're trying to help companies better manage risks. That's not what they're there for. So they'll lose. As soon as they start, they come to the executive office, they come to the head of commerce or head of production or CFO and saying, we can help you better manage risks. They've lost. That very second, as soon as those words come out of their mouth, they have lost. They have lost this person, they have lost the battle of integration. So if not managing risk, then what is it? What is it? And the simple answer is this. Risk management is all about making better business decisions with risks in mind, helping business run better with risks in mind, so basically helping people do what they do better with consideration to risks. So risk managers, when I come to the CFO, I don't say we can help you manage financial risks better. He doesn't care. I'm telling him I can help you budget better with risks in mind. I can help you do better forecasts. I can help you with analyzing investment projects with risks in mind. And I can help you present a better business case to the Ministry of Finance or a bank or an insurance company to save a lot of money. I'm talking about something that interests them, not me as the risk manager. So that's number 1 mistake. stop talking about managing risks. No one cares. And clearly, risk managers don't really learn, because we've been around for decades. And if you look globally, risk management as a discipline has been a pretty big disappointment. Mildly put, a big disappointment. Very few risk managers are still involved in strategic decision making. The average salary levels for risk managers outside of financial services, and everything I say relates first and foremost to non-financial services, because that's where my experience comes from. Salaries are pretty disappointing compared to other executives. And, statistically speaking, we're not doing that well. So clearly, those mistakes are significantly impacting on our careers and our future. So, number one, completely misunderstood the problem we're trying to solve. We're not trying to help companies better manage risks. We're trying to help companies make better decisions with risks in mind, operate better with risks in mind. Now, that may sound simple enough, but it's actually a huge difference. A huge difference. And in some other videos, I cover what the differences are. For example, do you need risk mitigation plans? You may not. Do you need risk owners? You may not. Do you need a risk management framework document? You may not. Do you need a risk management risk registers or heat maps or any other, or risk reports for that matter? You may not. There may be a better way, and I talk about this in other videos. So sorry, this is a big one, and you can see I'm pretty passionate about this, because I have been frustrated for years of risk managers continuing the conversation on how to better manage risks, and that's why I just hate COSO ERM so much, because it has 130 pages on how to better manage risks. But better managing risks is not it's not the purpose. It's just completely missing the point. So the whole document is giving us a lot of good guidance on a completely wrong problem. So the real problem is helping companies make better decisions and operate with risks in mind. So that's number one mistake, completely missing the point with the problem you're trying to solve. The second mistake that risk managers make is that they completely ignore science research from all the nearby fields. So there's the core risk management competency. In non-financial services, it's ISO 31000. And knowing that is great, but it only covers 10% of the real skill set that you need to be a good risk manager. What about the psychological side? What about all of the research and Nobel Prize winning research in cognitive biases, risk perception, and decision quality and decision making? Those areas are huge, and the risk managers simply cannot operate without that knowledge. Now, if we're saying the first mistake is that risk management is not about managing risks, it's about helping make better decisions. Well, then the second one is kind of obvious. You better learn how decisions are being made. You better learn what decision-making quality is, or decision quality. There is a lot of science behind all of those concepts. And same with risk quantification. I mean, Monte Carlo simulation, scenario analysis, sensitivity analysis, decision trees have been around since 30s, 40s, and 60s. So that's close to 100 years now of research that is completely still being ignored by many risk managers. So the second mistake that risk managers, in-house risk managers, make is that they really don't know enough about the different scientific research that's surrounding the area of risks. So there are better ways of identifying risks, analyzing risks, quantifying risks, linking risks to performance management and strategic objectives. And risk managers really should know all of that. That obviously doesn't mean that a single person within the risk management team has to know everything, but you need to have enough people on your team that have that knowledge. And the third one, third mistake is that many risk managers, unfortunately, are so preoccupied with what they're doing day to day that they forget to listen and network and communicate with the rest of the world. Because, I have, I'm not the greatest communicator in risk by any means, but I have been talking about some of those fundamental things for years. In Russia, it has been for 7 years. Probably for the last 2 years, I have sort of switched to English and started sharing the same ideas that I was sharing with the Russian market. And how many people are changing their approach? How many people are learning? Almost zero. Even in Russia, I've been honing the same tone for 7 years now, and I still see most of the dummies that are continuing doing their risk registers. Even like I'll tell you the anecdote. I had the last conference, I ran the last conference, it was the biggest conference in Russia. We had close to 200 people in attendance, and Norman Marks was our keynote speaker, which I'm really, really grateful to him for making his way to Moscow to share his experience. And I did quite an unusual introduction for Norman to the sort of local community. I said, what you're about to hear will probably not fit well with your existing mindset. What you're about to hear from Norman will challenge and break some of your sort of preconceived ideas. And you will try and find excuses in your head, because that's how cognitive biases work. They lie to ourselves and then makes us lie to the rest of the people. You will find explanations, logical explanations in your mind that will tell you, this is all great, Norman is a wonderful person, but this is not for me, my company is different, we have to, apply different tools. So I laughed about it, and Norman laughed about it as well. I basically said, you are not going to believe what you're about to hear. And even after saying that, Norman did his presentation, his 3-hour masterclass, and that was amazing. I was super grateful because it hit all the points that I was trying to convince, the local community for years. So it hit for me all the right marks. And then soon after that, in the coffee break, one of the risk managers at one of the largest corporations in Russia comes to me and goes, yeah, that was wonderful, but I think we're still gonna stick with risk registers because our company is different, and our regulators are expecting to see this. And I'm going, oh my god, you dummies, you just do not learn. Sorry for this emotional, side away, but the third mistake is that risk managers are pretty bad at listening. If there are 5 or 7 people from around the world saying something that may not fit in your current mindset, it may just mean that your current mindset is wrong, and it's about time you rethink this. Because remember, you probably don't remember this, but it was a year ago, 2 years ago, World-Class Risk Management book that Norman Marks wrote that came out. And that was the first, well actually it was probably the second or third book to ever put on paper the need to change. There has been a lot of debate on different forums and LinkedIn community and G31000 group on LinkedIn, but nobody really put it on paper. Douglas Hubbard did in his book Why Risk Management is Broken, and then Norman Marks in his book really reinforced that message. And my book my book in Russian came somewhere around that same time, and then it was translated slightly later in English. And we, different geographies, different countries, saying exactly the same thing. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to start rethinking some of the things you are so familiar with. I've given you a lot of information, maybe blew up your mind or made you really angry because you disagree so violently with everything I said. But this is a great opportunity to write underneath this video, regardless what your opinion is. I would like to hear it. For me, for now, thank you and goodbye.